It's live.
Are we live?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right.
On wire.
Welcome, everyone, to the Key Pass Collective. If you've seen Twitter, you know that our friend Jay Will Draft is under the weather, so he won't be joining us. So we have Totti pulling the strings behind the curtain. So if this sees the light of day, I think we'll be very lucky. But we also have a very special guest in addition to Totti. Our friend Zach, better known as Drafting for Upside, is joining us. First time, I think, right? First collabo?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's been a long time coming.
It has been. It has been. So welcome to the first, but hopefully not last KPC.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Finally talk some fantasy with you guys, even if just for a little bit before the
Excellent.
waivers run tomorrow.
Excellent. Yeah, we had to, sorry for all of the back and forth, everyone. We had to put this together pretty hastily, given that the game week starts tomorrow, and then Joe is playing hooky. I'm not convinced that he's sick. I think he's probably doing something fun. But yeah, got a great show for you, despite the urgency. We are going to go through our midweek strategies, what we as managers kind of think about the weird over-analysis that we do for midweek matchups. We're also going to talk waiver targets, and then if we have time, a few listener questions. So, Toddy's got it up. All right, sweet. So we already introduced Zach, so we'll go straight into our midweek strategies.
Okay.
Excellent. So thank you, Totti. I'm up first, so might sound pretty straightforward, but one of the things that I like to do first after the last game week ends, is to do a quick kind of cursory search of the last game week, just for the available players on my wire. So go into Fantrax, just put for the last game week and run the numbers, see who did well this past game week, see if they got decent matchups. Give it a sense check. Will this actually continue? Was it a one-off like Jacob Murphy, or is it actually sustainable? So that's and it gives you a good idea of who's actually on the wire. So that's one of the things that I like to do for midweek, or really any game week, to be honest. And then I like to also focus on not just kind of best available, but is there a really big need for a defender or a midfield or a forward, and then just really tailor my my waiver targets based on then. It's no use just hoarding the top players on the wire if you're not going to use them. So if you just really focus on the positions you need, you can save yourself some headache and some time. And I put the last one here titled Spite / Shithousery. 'Tis the season for it, if there really is any. If you're
isn't every season the season for shithousery?
Yes, it is. And it's viable strategy throughout the season, but especially in the run-in, as you maybe have fallen off the title chase, but you still want to play spoiler. So I'm thinking more in terms of looking at your rivals' roster. Do they have a glaring need on the wire? Can you, I don't know, take their players that you know for a fact that they're going to want to take off the wire just out of spite? You don't need a second goalkeeper, but you know your rival does, so you take them. I am not certainly above that, but it can get a little out of hand. Totti, you remember that guy from my league a few years ago that would just spam the entire waiver wire and take every decent pick and then just churn them so that they weren't available. But we've gotten away from that. If your commissioner is worth his salt, he can stop that churn.
And didn't he also? So he didn't just waiver them in or pick them up. He put them all on the bench so that you couldn't see the score. And then ended up only putting in the guys who who then got locked onto the lineup. So one by one, the players would appear on his lineup. Also, you still couldn't see the actual game week score. So yeah, how much of a shit house manager are you, Zach?
I mean, gosh, I don't know. I mean, I try to prevent that stuff in my league by doing it through the commissioner tools where you can't. I know some people make it so you can't pick up players 24 hours with them being dropped. I just turn that off unless it's the transfer season. Other than that, though, I don't do too much. I feel like the people who do the most shit housing are usually the people who do the least shit the other 30 weeks of the season. So, but yeah, no, definitely cause chaos at the end of the season if you just kind of got unlucky. Usually, if you're one of those teams with like 3,500 points right now and somehow in 5th place, feels like poetic justice.
A lot of spite built up over the last 6 months.
Just take out all that rage.
Exactly. No, but that guy who did all of that stuff in my league was the worst human being I've ever engaged with. So yeah, I'm just talking about just around the edges and not just spite for spite's sake. It actually has some method to the madness. If you weaken your rival, then it inherently helps you. So don't go crazy, but also nice guys finish last. So
yeah, for sure.
Those are my strategies.
Yeah. So we have a few people joining the stream. Welcome, boys.
Just in time. Yeah, I guess my first one could go a little bit under Ryan's shithousery architecture there with the mutual assured destruction on the clean sheet front. That being said, it's probably more of a strategy I'd employ if I were projected to win, maybe not by Fantrax's standards because I don't know how they calculate those, but they're not even close. Yeah. But I'd say you could employ this strategy in 2 different directions, right? If you're projected to win by, more than 5% or so, probably go and take away your opponent's chances of winning via some ridiculous clean sheets, since it's such a big swing when they hit those. And if you're the guy who's kind of praying for a chance, maybe don't match who your opponent's got. Obviously don't go away from a team if they've got like 45% clean sheet odds, but maybe try and create some variations so that you give yourself a narrative where you could actually win that matchup. Assuming, the rest of your team is good enough to help you win it. And then obviously now or never with your fab. Don't, hold like 20 fab for no reason. Should go without saying, but I've seen it. I looked throughout the Genie League and there's still people that are holding fab for no reason.
Yeah, you can't take it with you.
Yeah. So, go down with it. Like Ryan said, can't take it with you. So use as much as you got to use to get who you need, or shithouse your opponents. Both the same. And then another one I've got is don't look more than 1 game week ahead at a time. I know, judging by your last podcast, Totti might disagree with this one with his whiteboard calculations, but I think if you assume you've got a 50% chance of winning any week, looking more than that ahead is looking for the 25% chance you actually make it there if you have playoffs, that is. So it's not really worth looking at your squad at that point. You really want to win in the here and now. These wins are more important than those wins. So win for the now, not later. And then avoid analysis paralysis. I know sometimes managers like to get too cute and play these guys off waiver wires when they've had these studs that have produced maybe some topsy-turvy numbers throughout the whole season. But all in all, they're through and through a better player than what you're getting off the waiver wire. So just stick with your studs. Don't veer away from that at the end just because of frustration. Stick with who got you there. And obviously, if you need a vary here or there, I'd say especially at defense, do so. But your midfielders and attackers should stay relatively static throughout the remaining games of the season.
Those are good ones. Real quick on the clean sheet mutual assured destruction. I like doing that if, especially if I have the same kind of team's defender that I know that ghosts a lot better than my opponents. So
Mhm.
if we do get the clean sheet, great. I know that we'll bank that. Plus, I'll get more points given that he ghosts better.
Right.
So I don't mind throwing out those defenders. And then otherwise, I like to just kind of see how the game week goes. And if it goes into the last day and I got a decent lead, and I think his only differential is a defender that might get a clean sheet, then maybe I'll match that. But
Right.
yeah, it's tricky. And yeah, I think it really depends on where you are in the game week. But
Yeah, I think
those are good ones.
this year, especially with how bad defenders have been, the clean sheets have been a bigger weight than ever in each matchup that you have, since you're not getting so many of those ghost points week to week. I'm not at all advocating for picking up someone like Joel Ward just because your opponent has Joakim Anderson, but in general, if you can get a guy like you said that has similar ghosting ability, and your team has a better midfield and forward than the other team, sometimes it can be good to just try and get rid of that variation for the narrative that your opponent might need to win the matchup.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I also like the don't look longer than the one game week. However,
Right.
also comes down to kind of where you are in the game week. So I knew I was going to lose this past game week, kind of middle of the way, and you could still pick up folks that were blanking. So drop somebody for Julio and Ciso. Just to prepare for next week, just because I knew this one was a wash. So, yeah, while I agree with that, there are obviously some exceptions. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, it doesn't usually come off, but I do think that that it's good to consider that when you're late in the game week, and you are facing defensive stack, or even just one defender, and you're behind, then go the other way. Even if you think like it usually doesn't work out, but if you're behind, then even if you think that team is gonna keep a clean sheet, then the difference between ghosts usually doesn't help you out that much to bridge the gap. So essentially, you have to go differential, and it is a gutsy play, like playing around with clean sheets. But you have to consider like the actual difference that the players are gonna score, not just your player. So and that's the easiest with clean sheets.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Toddy, what you got?
Yeah, so I think I'm not gonna mention the shithousery again.
No, please do. I'd love to talk shop with you there.
Yeah, I mean shithousery as shithousery goes. Yeah, I like to check out cuffs for my opponent and for my rivals players as well, and cheekily pick them up. Or even if you are like now, it's a one waiver run, so we only have to usually most leagues only have the one waiver run between game weeks, so it lets you be clever with when you drop players, and if you want to drop them before waivers, so that if it's close enough before the waivers, then most managers won't notice that they were available for waivers, and they'll clear waivers and they will be available on free agency. This works best for players like who are deep in the wilderness of free agency, like page 3 and onwards, and then you can pick them back up as a stream. Whereas if you want to play, if you know that you're going to drop a player, that you're not going to play them, but others could use them, then don't drop him before the waivers run, so that he'll be logged on waivers for the whole game week. So it's the one game week, or the one waiver setup between game weeks does give savvy managers a bit of a play there. But the actual like proper non-shithousery info that I want to relay is for me it's planning your game week. Obviously, what you guys said is also true. Like like looking at clean sheets and stuff like that. But planning your game week usually, and this is just a sort of a life situation thing. But usually, Europe in Europe. These midweek games are usually bang on at bath time for the kids or dinner or something like that. So you need to know when to plan your bathroom breaks so that you can go you can go on the tinkers. Whereas, like if you have a lineup announcement and you have no one, you don't want to mess up your one chance to get away from the family to tinker with your lineup. So you have got to plan for that. But also, like, really, you have to plan for when the decisions are gonna be for you. Obviously, you have a predicted lineup in your head with all your players, so you know where the weakest links in your fantasy team are and when their matchups are coming up. So you need to plan when you're actually making those decisions. And if I have time, I usually sort of try to simulate the free agency pool in my head. So I just want to have a look for when those decisions are going to be made, what is going to be available on free agency. Obviously, I have a look at some predicted starters and some high upside streamers as well. But what the free agency is gonna look like is essential so that you know that you have some wiggle room. It's essentially free agency at that point is your handcuff, and if there is nothing there, then you might need to bring the lineup decisions ahead because you'll be locked into a situation where you have to start Eric Dyer and they concede 6.
And nobody wants that. That's a great point. That kind of gets back to what I was talking about in terms of like chronologically. If you know that you have a player that's kind of a differential on Thursday, but you're not entirely sure if they're going to start, you need to get some cover on one of the late Thursday games. If you don't, then you might need to move up one of your questionable decisions to someone who's starting on Tuesday or Wednesday. So
Exactly.
yeah, absolutely. All right, waiver targets. Let's see who we're all looking for on the wire tomorrow. Zach.
Yeah. So for those who are living under a rock, Perry Wilson still available. I guess if your whole league's under a rock, go and snag him. I know in my home league that has a little bit different scoring, he got like 25 something points. I know he got like 18 or so. In standard scoring, I think there's a bit of a change in Fulham's strategy now that they don't have Mitro, where they can kind of go directly from the outside backs forward. Now they're doing a little bit more build-up play, and Harry Wilson's beneficiary of that, plus obviously set-piece opportunities if Andreas is not on there. So definitely get him. And I know they got a couple of dicey matchups approaching with away one at Villa, home against City, so probably not going to be playing him there. And then at Liverpool, who, not a great matchup on paper, but I think talent and opportunity are gonna kind of drive him for the future. And if you kind of just look at the landscape of waivers, there are not too many better options than him. Another one is Kelechi, and I know the accompanying image is slandering his name by putting Vardy in over him, but I think that he has a good shout getting the start up top. Was on penalties over the weekend. Put in a decent shift. I think he's got more in the tank, and he's actually Leicester's highest scoring points per 90 forward. And they do have a few. at like 13.5 to 14, I believe. So he's definitely one to keep an eye on for the future. Get him in. Again, 40% owned, not ideal, but for any of those leagues that he's still available, come snatch him up. I normally wouldn't include a goalie, but he's just so absurd recently that he has to be mentioned. Sam John Stonewall Jackson, he is at 32%. He's averaging a clip of 17 points per game. I'm sure we can expect that to continue. Very projectable, I know, but they got some good matchups approaching. As I know, the community has kind of mentioned several times recently, so definitely snag him. Might help nuke one of your opponents' clean sheet defenders on Palace, whether they have a Joakim Anderson or Tyrick Mitchell, who's apparently Kenny Tete now. Definitely take a look his way. And you'll notice a trend with mine. I'm all in on Leicester, even though they're, not in great form. Tete, I think, could do you some good if you're willing to take the risk. He's definitely a high upside, low floor guy. Didn't play the full 90, which I don't love, but I think he could do a lot worse. Projected to start at least through Fantasy Football Scout, and was pretty involved, I think, last game. I know that, Leicester were a bit up and down throughout the match, but their matchups approaching at Leeds, home Everton, and at Fulham look pretty good, I'd say. So I think you could do a lot worse than him, and he's a forward. So I know people are kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel on waivers for those guys. And then accompanying him, his fellow center back compatriots and Soyuncu and Face, who may get subbed out for Sutar. We'll see, but they both got 10 or 12 ghost points, I believe, maybe more, in that 2-1 win over Wolves, I believe it was. So I think they're viable options. And Soyuncu, I remember back in the day, used to be a pretty good center back option. So we'll see if he has some sort of late season revival, though. I know he might be on his way out the door at the end of the season. So, I'd say target Leicester. At least from my opinion, they seem like some of the better high availability players out there on the wire.
Yeah, that matchup at Ellen Road against Leeds is going to be fascinating.
For streamers especially.
Yeah, it's going to be streamers' paradise. I talk about Soyuncu in the Ghost Point Hunters article this week too.
Nice.
Weird that it's like his third start of the season. Raj
never
just
understood it.
fell out of love with him. But maybe that's why he's not there anymore. Awesome. All right, Totti, next slide, please. All right, these are my waiver targets. I don't know. Is this the predicted?
This is
scout?
This is the scouts predicted Brighton lineup for those who will end up listening to this pod in an audio format. It's it has Enciso and Undav starting, Gross continuing at right back, and otherwise no surprises and no rest for the weary. So
tough penalty shootout loss to Man United yesterday in the FA Cup.
120 minutes for most of the starters as well.
Yeah, although I think Enciso at least got subbed off like 60, 70th minute, so he should be still somewhat fresh. At Forest, which is the best matchup you could think of other than hosting Forest. So I like Enciso. Yeah, take your pick. Enciso was great last time out in the league versus Chelsea with that screamer, and he had a bunch of ghosts. So I picked him up this past week anywhere I could if I had the room. Undav got a lot of slander, at least from Brighton Twitter yesterday. Said he didn't play that well. I wasn't, unfortunately, I was on a plane, so I didn't get to see the match live. So I don't know if you guys disagree with that, but I just saw on Twitter that he was not his best day. But Welbeck went off injured, and I think Ferguson's still probably out. So I don't know how many options they're going to have up front. And given the matchup, Undav's probably a good shot as well. Michael Keane probably not available in a lot of your leagues. If he is, pick him up. He just dropped almost 20 ghost points on top of a clean sheet against Palace. So like his boy Tark, he's becoming kind of matchup proof. Felipe,
He's actually siphoned some of
Tark's points.
Aerials, yeah. Tark's
Well,
aerials.
he had 12 of them over the weekend. So
yeah, I think
not too many left.
At some point, I was checking. Tark's had 4 against his 8 or something like that. So that's definitely some alpha beta thing going on.
Emasculating Tarkowski, yeah.
Yeah, the former Burnley defenders just doing a dick measuring contest.
Yeah, and they got Trippier banging balls in all game long coming up. So
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I'm playing against him for the trifecta, so yeah, pick him up. Yeah, speaking of picking up aerials, Felipe, sucking up every ghost point that he can. I slightly doubted him this past week, but he repaid the faith with I think 15 ghosties versus Liverpool. So
at least he did.
Yeah, he did, but not too many others. MGW did, I guess, too. But hosting a potentially weary Brighton, who will have a lot of the ball and be pumping in crosses and everything else. So he'll have a lot to do, even if they don't keep a clean sheet. Patson Daka to continue the Leicester love-in. Uncharacteristically got 10 ghost points this past game week. Has a receptive Leeds defense to toy with midweek. And then sticking with Leicester Leeds, the return of Liam Cooper. He continued his ghost point scoring ways. I think he had 15 as well. Leicester's still not the finished product under Dean Smith. So even if he doesn't keep a clean sheet, and let's be real, they won't. He should do pretty well. So those are my guys. Very defender heavy per usual.
Yeah. Just want to caveat that based on today's press conferences, obviously, I think we are essentially suggesting start every Leicester attacker, whoever starts, because are we starting Vardy as well? Because neither of you mentioned Vardy.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I'm out on Vardy. I can't. He's a trap.
No
I hope my opponent picks him up.
So it's Daka, Iheanacho, Tete, Barnes, obviously KDH.
Is Barnes going to be back?
He is. Yep. He is indeed.
KDH didn't start.
He didn't start
over the weekend, but still he put in a shift.
He put in a shift.
Did he come in for Vardy?
He came on.
I saw Vardy only
half.
did 45.
Yeah. He came on at the half for Vardy, which was strange tactical setup.
I think Vardy's got a knock was why he went out. So
what about Tielemans? He dropped a second goose egg. I think it was a 3-pointer. And potentially Madison coming back and maybe KDH as well into the lineup means no more sets.
I'm out on Tielemans. Yeah, he had the Wolves game to impress, and everybody else scored well except for him. So
I think the first goal was his fault too.
Oh yeah, he gave that ball away for the first goal too.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. So we're dropping Tielemans.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Okay, and also just wanted to mention that it actually Liam Cooper and Max Waiver, neither of them trained today due to knocks. So that's something to monitor. Obviously, we're probably not going to get any more info until actual lineups or leaks are announced. But yeah, I think Cooper's upside is high enough so that you have to keep him. But Waiver started at left back and was very bad for Fantrax. I mean, so I'd probably drop him even with this potential injury coming up. For my streamers, I went projections heavy. I've
Shocker.
Yeah, shocker. I've put in our very own drafted thoughts' tweet. One of my favorite tweets every week, the unwanted records tweet, and it essentially is the Alienassi Podence show at by the end of the season. Those two guys just cannot catch a break. So I'm actually suggesting cheeky Mo pick up. He's projected to score around 10 points. In the same ilk, Kamaldeen Suleimana. I know Ryan. He's burnt you
Never again.
far too many times to be able to give him a chance. But if he starts, I think he could do a job. Jacob Murphy obviously did a huge number on Spurs. Was on for a hat trick as well. So he should continue. And also, Hal has already said that the SM will not be available midweek, so there's no impediment to his starting. And the last one I wanted to mention, who has been projected to start for, I think for this midweek, is his third time he's projected to start by our very own draft lad. So I think third time the charm. Arnaud Danjuma should get the nod.
Another late game though, man. It's risky biz.
Yeah, I mean, I picked up what's his name, Rothwell. No, I didn't go there, but I picked up Joe Rothwell last game week for Danjuma. So I think, yeah, I agree. Danjuma is there for anyone who has some Spurs cover, but probably the safest bet would be for those to pick him up who have Kulusevski, and just hope that he starts if Kulu doesn't. But I think he should score well if he does start.
Are you starting any Spurs defenders after that monstrosity? I mean, you're going against Man United. You're at home. Looks like Bruno Fernandes is going to miss out. They're probably pretty weary after the FA Cup final as well. If you have, say, Porro or any of them.
I mean, Porro, yeah, probably. I'm starting Porro just for the upside, but no center backs. Definitely no center back. I'd be tempted if Davies is back.
Yeah,
he's
scoring well.
He's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah,
if he's at wing back.
I think he'll get stuck at the left center back spot.
Probably, yeah. So that'd be a tough one if he is. But yeah, decent cover in a later game if you need to.
Yeah, if you're going for upside on Danjuma and chasing, and he doesn't start, then Davies is a good pivot.
Yeah,
because I don't think anyone will pick him up, since as he's been out for a while and it's a late game and they've just conceded 6, and even that was quite flattering. Right. So yeah, I think Davies is a good one to sort of have in the back of your mind to pick up.
Yeah, who would have thought when you play a 4-back with 2 outside mids, you concede goals?
I mean,
that's why Stellini's on his way out.
He's gone as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and check what Ryan Mason did during his brief stint after the League Cup final. See what I'm trying to remember what formation he used, but yeah, I mean they've got 13 wingbacks on the squad, so I'm sure he's going to use them in some capacity. So
yeah. We'll get them humming.
Yeah. Nice.
Let's
All
get on
right.
to some listener questions, right?
Yep. Hit us.
This is the first one. Can you see it?
Tom Husband.
Yep.
Yep. Old fireworm.
Yep.
All right. Have Puro and Bruno thinking of just using the former as cover if the BF's out. Yeah, I think that's a good shout.
That's wise.
Yeah. We saw the picture of Bruno in crutches, but who knows if his wife is in on some sort of shithousery. Could be a pump fake. So yeah, keep Poro as cover. I think that's a good shout. I think Tom also had a question on Twitter about who benefits from Bruno's absence. My just kind of initial inclination would be that maybe Eriksson slots into that role, and then it opens up Fred or McTominay coming into the midfield, or maybe a Sabitzer. Yeah.
Yeah, Sabitzer has actually been playing as a number 10 lately, and he's been scoring well as well. So I think he will have a more pronounced role. I think Eriksson, as you said, will probably take over sets. But yeah, I expect Sabitzer to be a decent shout to score better than he usually does.
Yeah, agreed.
Would you go with him as backup for Danjuma over Ben Davies?
I definitely prefer Sabitzer out of all of them. So maybe I'd have the other two as backup for him. Yeah. Ralph Sparkley, man, just can't take that level of cheekiness. Could Alvarez become one of the most valuable City players rest of season? I certainly think so. I moved him up pretty high in my rest of season rankings, based on that premise that given the number of games that they're going to play, and his flexibility, being able to play across the front three, that he'll get more playing time, and he was available and I think a lot of leagues the past couple of weeks, and still might be available in your league, given that he hasn't started in a while. So I don't expect him to play on Wednesday against Arsenal, but any game after that, I think he has a shot of getting a start. He usually scores well, so I would agree with that. I don't know what you guys think.
I think it could likely depend on how they do against Arsenal this week. If they get the win, then that gives them some more room to make some moves. But I think Pep's going to be playing every game to win until that point. So
yeah, I think I'm like, I'd love him to play. I think he's a good option, and he's a very good player, both for Fantrax and in real life. But I think Pep is just going to run Haaland into the ground. So I expect him to maybe come in for someone like Mahrez. But that's also impacted by Foden being back. So I'm not much higher on Alvarez than I had been for all season. Like, I think this season he is the number one high upside streamer. Obviously, by default, he needs to be rostered. I am a poor sod who rostered him for almost the whole season in one of my leagues. But it's a similar situation to last season's Tsimikas situation, where whenever he played, he dropped 20, 25 points, but then he didn't play for another 15 games. So every week you were considering dropping him, but then you looked at his Fantrax scores, and the last start he had was a monstrosity, and then you decided not to drop him. So it's a difficult one. What would be your over/under, Ryan, for rest of the season starts for Alvarez?
I'd say 3 or 4, probably. maybe 3. I'd be comfortable saying he'll start 3.
What are you, Zach?
I think if you asked odds makers, it would be around 3. Yeah,
And would you be over or under 3?
I'd go under.
I'd be right at 3.
I don't think that's how over under works. But
No, it's not. But I'll
Three
play
and
the
three and a
push.
half.
Yeah.
okay, I've just added a ticker. That's something just for Zach as a welcome to the KPC pod. As a friend of the pod, Draftopia has a question for you. Can you go ahead and lose this week so I can be the sole leader of the Genie League?
Yeah, no can do.
Collusion.
Got to finish
That's
out strong. My 5 or 6 game lead can only grow from here. So
Nice.
got to really put the hurting on the Sunday league in tier 5. Show them how it's done.
Nice.
No excuses. Play like a champion.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Harbor Boy, coming from Kiwi Land in New Zealand, I believe. So welcome, Harbor Boy. He's asking, who do I start this week out of Dougie Lou, Joe Linton, Andreas, and Erickson? I'd like to start them all if I could. I don't know what studs you have keeping these guys out, but my God. I guess what would be helpful is if we rank them in order. Oh God, Joe Linton's tough because he just killed it, but he can also go
Kill
quiet
you.
a bit. Andreas, man, I rostered him earlier in the season and I hated it, but yeah, under this new look, non-Mitro side, he looks a bit more dangerous than usual. And then Erickson, yeah, benefits probably from Bruno being out. I'd say Dougie Lou is probably the lowest for me, and I like Dougie Lou.
My rank would be the way you said them. So Joe Linton, Andres, Erickson, and Doug Lou.
Yeah, might be the this is the way. I'm playing against Joe Linton too again, if it matters.
Oh, he's number 1 then for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, top of the list. Yeah, I'd probably go. I mean, depending on what you need. If you need some upside, go Jolinton. If you need more of a floor, go Erickson first. Then after them, I'd go Andreas, and then good old Dougie Lou.
Poor old Dougie Lou at the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah,
Just bag the
Still-
goal and yeah,
Still a decent starter.
it's not personal.
I love Dougie Lou. Brandon Brown, I think of Brisbane fame, if I'm not mistaken.
I
Brisbane
do.
Brando,
Yeah.
our guy. Do I drop Tiago? Not starting at the moment. Yeah, that ship is, I think, sailed until proven otherwise. I dropped him last week. Happy to stream him if he does end up getting the nod, but until then, yeah, I don't see any need to waste roster space with him. Anybody else disagree?
No, I agree. Both of us Liverpool fans. I think I'll let Zach weigh in as well, but I think Klopp is just going to play his hot hand as long as it keeps working.
Well, it's a debate of will he start, and even if he starts, will he return starting value? Because I know a lot of people were in on Curtis Jones last week and probably got nuked by that 0 point burger.
I said it, man.
So,
Never trust that dude ever.
Yeah, I saw that one written in the stars, so I veered far away from him. But I could see Thiago getting you your 10 points if he starts. It just doesn't, like you guys said, can stream him if he starts, but it's not worth holding onto the roster spot and forgoing something else. There's probably something better out there.
Yep.
Agreed.
Well, there you have it. Corona Rod 1. Would you trade out Isaac? A team has inquired about him. Some of the players I like on his team are Estupinian, Andreas Bowen, Bruno, Perisic, Gabriel Jesus, and McAllister. I kind of like trading out Isaac on a high. He's can be kind of hit or miss, and you never know with his fitness if he's going to be picking up a knock anytime soon. Obviously, a great player to have, so don't sell him for peanuts. But of those players, I mean, I probably pretty biased, but I'd obviously take a Gabby Jesus 1-for-1.
Would you
probably
take, would you take a Mecca 1-for-1?
I was just thinking about that. Positionally, it depends. If I needed a mid, I think I would, given the fixtures that they have. That's pretty close. Obviously, would say Bruno Fernandes if it wasn't for the knock.
Yeah, I just got an offer for him in one of my leagues, so we can discuss and then decide for me. I was offered Darwin Nunez and Luis Diaz for one Alexander Isak.
No,
And
not for me.
Even as a Liverpool fan, I think I didn't accept, and it's still unanswered in my inbox, but I don't think I'd take that.
Nah, I
Nah.
wouldn't either.
2 non-starting forwards for one that's starting and in form. Yeah, no thanks.
Sorry, that was still for Corona Rod game.
So that puts more of an emphasis on who's got a better schedule starting game week 36.
That's Mecca.
A lot of doubles, yeah.
Yeah, two Brighton doubles there.
Yeah, maybe cheekily ask for Estupinian and McAllister, double up and just see where it goes.
Oh yeah, I'd run to the bank with that one.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Harbor Boy going back to the well again. Who was Totti needs to filter these out. Who was the best keeper to pick up this week out of De Gea, Steele, Johnstone, and Martinez? I think
has to be Johnstone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Johnstone wall.
Yeah.
Stonewall Jackson. Yeah.
That's right. All right. Omar Barajas, good friend of the pod. Omar, how are you, man? Non-ghost league. Don't care for that. What's the point? Am I going back to Pinnock for Tierney and possibly drop McNeil for Eriksson? Oh man, Tierney is probably washed. I know it's a non-ghost league, which is probably better for Tierney, but given their matchups, Arsenal's matchups are bad up until Forest and Wolves in the last 2. So, and Tierney is like I said, is not first choice and Zinchenko's back. So I would obviously like Pinnock over Tierney and McNeil, Eriksson. If you're just going attacking returns, I guess
I'd still keep McNeil.
Yeah.
I don't think Eriksson gets you could get a return off a corner or something, but I don't think he's playing far high enough.
What about the Man United have a double left? Yeah.
I
believe they do. So maybe the schedule and the fact that Bruno's out puts Eriksson over the top. But yeah, that one's pretty close.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, man, you have 2 games in hand, so that might change things.
Yeah. All right. Any other listener questions that we haven't gotten to, Totti?
Not so much, no. I think we are all caught up. We have this one.
Yeah. Hey, it was a tough one, Can't win them all.
Did Tom beat you in a cup final?
No, it was someone else, but everyone loves bringing it up. So
I mean,
the ones are still raw.
Exactly, you are getting you're getting the guest treatment with these comments.
Oh, I'd expect nothing less.
Yeah, and this may be our last comment of the day. care to elaborate on that, Ryan?
Nothing for me. I'll give that right back to you, Toddy.
Yeah. I think Genie is our go-to deep dark Twitter expert, but yeah, there's definitely some exciting stuff happening under the hood, behind the scenes, however you want to call it, with the Draft Society regarding some shuffling around of things and some new and exciting features that we are going to add to our portfolio in every sense of the word.
Yeah, man. Weird stuff happening out in Casper, Wyoming this summer.
Yes. Thank you, Evan, whoever you may be, for that.
Can't imagine who that would be.
I have no
Anyone's
idea.
guess.
I mean, Evan, very common name.
Yeah. The American Muhammad. All right. Well, I guess that'll wrap it up. On behalf of Totti, Zach, and myself, thank you, Zach, for joining us. Great analysis as usual. Totti, poor takes per usual as well. Thanks to our listeners, especially everybody that joined the live stream. Really appreciate your support. Hope we helped get you a win this game week. It's a weird midweek one, so best of luck to everybody. And yeah, adios to the muchachos and the muchachos. Que Dios te bendiga. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cut the stream, Totti.